Hi, my name is Chris Ellis, and I decided to do my historical book section on the person of Martin Luther King. And the first book that I chose is this. It's called My First Martin Luther King Book, written by D. Lilligard. And this book accomplishes a lot of things of really connecting these students personally to the child of Martin Luther King, and as he began to develop as a student and develop as a learner and developed as a person who stood strong against what he believes in. And this book is more geared towards a story, for a storytelling setting where the teacher will read to the students as the students are more geared towards the picture on each side. And it's separated into 13 different sections that demonstrate 13 different aspects of Martin Luther King's life. And so it helps introduce the issue that's going on, the race issue, and it also introduces his character and has his development all through when he was a child to really the theme of it doesn't matter what we look like on the outside, but we are all the same in the inside. And so the strengths of this book is it helps kids visualize through the different images in the book of what he was going through and his development as a child. And so it really helps them connect to him personally, and it's more surface level on the fact of what he stood for, but it helps them understand, who he was as a person. The second book is a picture book of Martin Luther King written by David Adler. And this book has a lot more content and it has more variety and more colors and playful pictures to go along with the content. And I think it does a good job in its content, and it helps the students connect more deeply in the person of Martin Luther King. It helps them develop and more connect with his development as a child, as you see his emotional states where in the beginning where he played with his friends, and his friends' parents wouldn't let them play with Martin Luther King anymore because of his color. And you just see that he's a typical kid who loves books, who loves to play, and he loves sports. And so you see a connection with his character as a child. But what it also does, and I think one of the strengths here, is begin to show what the issue was going around in the culture. So overall, you're beginning to see how this book relates more to students who are second to third grade in the way that it's still primarily dominated by pictures, but still has a lot more content where they can connect to the person and work of Martin Luther King and his accomplishments. The third book that I chose is Martin Luther King Day, written by Linda Laurie. And this book takes another similar approach as the other two in the way that it has pictures and it has content around those pictures. But one thing that I see that's different about this book is it is more content driven. So rather than the past two books where it is Martin Luther King's life is split up in different sections, this book is more of a one chapter book, and it's a narrative from his life all the way since he was born all the way until the end of his life, and it shows the theme and what he believed in and what he stood for. So you begin to see more of a sync in his story and more of a connection with the different aspects of his life. And so there's less focus in the pictures, which I think is good because it helps the students who I believe would connect more to second grade to the story of Martin Luther King, solely just more of a connection of the words and the content around it. The fourth book I chose is Martin Luther King, written by Troll Associates. It takes an approach similar to Martin Luther King Day, but what it does more is in its content. So it's more content driven. And one thing that you also see in this book is the pictures are a little less dynamic than the other ones. So as the other books more associate and more brought in the students through its pictures, these pictures are a little less dynamic in color and complexity, and it's more focused on the content surrounding the pictures. So the strength of this book, I believe, is the fact that it's starting to take more of an approach to the issue rather than just trying to connect the students to the personal nature and then go into the issue. This book jumps straight into the need for Martin Luther King and the need for someone who stands up for the race issue in the culture. So this book is more geared towards students who are fourth grade. The fifth book I chose is Martin Luther King, A Peaceful Warrior, written by Ed Clayton. And this book is more geared towards older children who are sixth grade and up. And I believe this because of the format that Ed Clayton takes. And instead of the other ones where it's more dominated by pictures, this is definitely dominated by content. As you can see, there's very limited pictures, and the times that they use pictures is to emphasize the points and help students visualize what is going on in the content. So this book, rather than any other book, is more for students who can visualize what is going on in the content by themselves rather than needing full-page landscapes of what is going on to help them visualize. So bringing all 5 of these books together, I think we begin to see the development of children's literature in a kid's life. Where in the beginning, they need the pictures to help supplement the content in the way that they need to be driven by the pictures because they're visually driven. While later on, you begin to see this switch from visualizing to content, where they're more focused on the content that's there, and which ultimately leads to books as The Peaceful Warrior, where it is all content and it's more based on different chapters that all bring in the life of Martin Luther King.